My hands were shaking too hard to hold the paper cup of coffee the technician handed me. "Ma'am," he said, not looking up from the monitor, flat in a way that scared me more than shouting would have. "Leave right now. Go somewhere public. Don't go home." On the screen behind him, my own backyard, my own patio furniture, and two people standing in it who were never supposed to be there. "You need to call someone before I show you this," he said. "Someone who isn't in this footage. My name is Daniel Kessler. I'm 63. For 31 years, I ran a small accounting firm out of a converted house on Maple Street, built from a single client into a practice serving 400 small businesses. I sold it 2 years ago for $2.1 million. Not because I wanted to, but because my hands had started shaking too much to trust my own numbers, and I'd rather leave with dignity than become the accountant everyone whispered about. That money, plus my paid-off house, plus my retirement accounts, made me comfortable for the first time in my life. Comfortable enough to help my son Marcus and his wife Renata with a down payment. Comfortable enough to pay for my granddaughter Lily's dance lessons. I thought that comfort was safe. I thought my family was safe. I was wrong about both. It started on a Tuesday in March at dinner. Renata came to the table in a silk blouse I recognized from a boutique window. $480. Marcus poured a Bordeaux instead of our usual $12 bottle, label facing out like an announcement. "Big week?" I asked. "Light. Just treating ourselves." Renata smiled. "You only live once, right, Daniel?" She'd started calling me Daniel 6 months earlier. Never Dad. A small, precise correction. A reminder I'd never be the father-in-law who got the warmer name. Driving home, I did the math I'd done professionally for 3 decades. Marcus made $71,000 a year. Renata worked part-time, maybe $28,000. Between the mortgage I'd helped with, 2 car payments, and Lily's tuition, their numbers didn't come close to matching a $480 blouse. Something was funding a life they couldn't afford. 3 weeks later, I checked a joint emergency account I'd set up years earlier, Marcus as co-signer for convenience. $31,400 had been withdrawn over 4 months. Cash, transfers to an account I didn't recognize. I called Marcus, kept my voice light. He didn't miss a beat. Renata was consulting on the side, upfront licensing fees, invoices pending, standard cash flow lag, fluent, confident, designed to make a man in his 60s feel foolish for asking. I hired a private investigator. 2 weeks later, she slid a folder across a coffee shop table. No consulting business, no LLC. The $31,400 had gone to a leased BMW, a Cancun trip for 4, and 3 payments to a shell company called Bellwood Property Holdings. Registered agent traced back to my own address. I didn't confront them yet. The following Sunday, dropping off cookies, I let myself in the side door and heard them before they saw me. "He barely checks anything anymore," Renata was saying, laughing. "In 2 years, he won't remember what year it is." Marcus, quieter, guilty, didn't correct her. "He trusts me. Signed power of attorney years ago. We just need one more signature and Bellwood owns the house outright. He never has to know until it's done." I stood in that doorway with a tray of cookies going cold, and something in my chest went very still. At home, I found a durable power of attorney buried in old paperwork, notarized 18 months earlier, granting Marcus broad authority over my finances, far broader than the "just to help with bills" he'd described. I called the notary. 2 days later she called back, tight-voiced. "I have no record of witnessing that signature. It was forged." I asked my investigator to dig deeper into Bellwood. It had already taken out a $180,000 home equity line against my property using that forged document. The money split between Marcus and Renata's accounts, and $60,000 to Renata's brother Todd Whitmore, a man with 2 prior fraud judgments in another state. I had enough to go to the police immediately. I didn't. Marcus could claim confusion, claim I'd forgotten giving verbal consent, the same lie he was already telling himself about me. I needed them on record, in their own voices, admitting intent. So I decided to give them exactly what they already believed they had. I started forgetting things on purpose, repeating questions, calling Lily by my sister's name, holding cups with both hands. I bought a cane I didn't need. Every performance was a calculation. Let them get greedy, and greedy people get careless. I installed cameras around the patio and kitchen window, framed to Marcus as a security upgrade, after a real break-in 2 streets over. He helped me pick the brand himself, laughing about how tech-savvy I still was. I had my attorney draft a fake trust document, real stationery, no legal weight, pure bait, transferring the house to Marcus, and left it misplaced on the counter on a Thursday, the day Renata came by. 2 weeks later I had it all. Renata's voice on the recording. He already thinks he signed it. Who's going to believe a man who can't remember his own granddaughter's name? Marcus, in my own backyard. Once the trust clears, we sell within 6 months. Todd's got a buyer lined up. Dad won't even know until he's in assisted living. I chose Lily's 8th birthday party to end it. 40 people, string lights, the same patio the cameras had watched for 6 weeks. Renata found her moment mid-party, champagne in hand, laughing to Marcus's aunt. Daniel gets confused these days. We're handling all his affairs now. I walked over slowly, cane in hand. What details, dear? Oh, don't worry about it, she said, patting my arm like a child. I set the cane down against the table. The sound cut through the chatter. I'd like everyone to hear this, I said, calm. I set my phone on the table and pressed play. Renata's laughing voice filled the patio. The exact words. The party went silent. I held up the forged power of attorney. This is a forgery. Carla the notary confirmed it in writing. $180,000 in equity was pulled from my house using this document, and $60,000 went to your brother Todd, who has 2 prior fraud judgments against him. I tore the paper in half, then quarters, and set it beside the cake. 2 detectives stepped forward from the gate. Marcus Kessler, Renata Kessler, we need you to come with us. Renata's glass slipped and shattered on the stones. Nobody clapped. I just picked my cane back up, because for the first time all evening, I actually needed it. Within 4 months, Marcus was charged with forgery and financial exploitation of an elderly person. He pled to a reduced charge, 3 years probation, $180,000 restitution, and a record that ended his career. Renata was let go from her firm 2 weeks after the arrest hit the papers. Todd Whitmore, on his 3rd fraud judgment, was the only one who saw real jail time, 14 months. The marriage didn't survive. Renata moved out within 6 weeks, taking 2 suitcases and a BMW lease she defaulted on within 90 days. I forgave one debt in this story. A young bookkeeper named Aisha, who'd unknowingly processed some of Bellwood's paperwork, came to me in tears, terrified she'd be implicated. I cleared her with the detectives and helped her find honest work. She hadn't chosen her employer's crimes. And Lily, 8 years old, innocent of all of it, never lost her dance lessons, her school, or her grandfather. Some things greed doesn't get to touch. 9 months later, on the first real storm of the season, my doorbell rang at 9:40 p.m. Marcus stood soaked on my porch, a duffel bag at his feet, thinner than I remembered. Dad, I have nowhere else to go. Please. I looked at my son a long moment, rain running down a face I used to wipe clean as a toddler. I loved you enough to give you everything I had, I said, steady, not unkind. You decided that wasn't enough, and you tried to take the rest by force, while calling me confused to my face in my own kitchen. I hope you rebuild something honest. It won't be rebuilt here. I closed the door gently, no slam. Just the quiet click of a lock. Here's what I learned the hard way. People planning to take something from you will usually tell you exactly what they think of you first. The small insults, the dismissiveness, the assumption you're too weak or too confused to notice. Don't argue with that assumption. Let them underestimate you long enough to show you exactly who they are, on the record, in their own words. Family doesn't get a free pass to steal from you just because it's uncomfortable to call it what it is. If someone in your life ever underestimated you the way my son did, what would you have done?